so I can see you on camera. And you're gonna. Well, good afternoon, Southern Oregon. This is Alice Lema, a broker, John L. Scott, Southern Oregon, and we're still learning how to do the live stream. So some afternoons are more comical than others, but we're so excited. We're multi-platforms today, I think, and we're also going to be answering questions live and listening to people's different comments and things like that. So it's going to be really great. So just go ahead and chat everybody up and let me know what you want to talk about. Today, I've got a couple of things I really want to bring to your attention because, in my opinion, the market is changing this week, last 10 days. Because here we are, this is Friday, August 21st, 2020. The pandemic has really changed the market quite a bit, but we've still been selling a lot of houses because our demand has gone up. In part, the demand has gone up because the interest rates are ridiculously low. In fact, somebody just closed this week at 2.6% interest rate on their 30-year home mortgage, and they were not a veteran. They were not in any special program. It was just a regular vanilla 30-year fixed mortgage, 2.6%. Just crazy, crazy interest rates. So that's causing a lot of demand. We have a lot of people literally fleeing the urban areas from all across the country. And I can't say this enough, Southern Oregon has been identified as one of the places to go. We have, and we know why. We have fabulous, fabulous weather. We're a predominantly friendly location. Like if you're driving down the freeway and somebody turns on the blinker, most of us just like smile and wave and let people in. We don't get all huffy about it. And the same in grocery stores and stuff like that. So I think we're just a more easygoing bunch here. We've got all the fantastic wildlife, and we've got the rivers and the lakes. So it's just really, really desirable. And they're bringing their tech jobs with them. So these people are coming here with their tech jobs, some of them in, $150,000, $200,000 a year, and they're able to live here. So that's causing some havoc with competition, but it's also raising some of the prices, not all of the prices, but some of the prices. So, so there's a lot going on, but also underneath all that is this phenomena where how we have the new houses that come on the market every week. They call those new listings, and there's a certain number of them in each county. There's another thing happening, which is the back on market. And if you see it on the different websites that you're watching, whether it's John L. Scott or Zillow or Realtor.com, they call it BOM, back on market. Well, nobody's really talking about the back on market number, because you need to add the back on market number to the new listings. And then you have your true not only trend analysis, but you have your true number of houses available. And so when people are talking about our number of houses available for sale, they're not adding in the back on market. And that's really scary because the back on market numbers are kind of high. So check this out. The Jackson County had 100 new listings this week. It also had 43 back on market. So, dude and dudettes, that is nearly 50%. So, and it's not the same houses. It's not necessarily that the same 100 houses went on the market and then 43 of those like came back, but the ones that were pending, it could have been some of these that were new and then transitioned into contract. So, but that's really high. And see, this is what I was wondering when the pandemic started, is that we were going to have a delayed season. And then at some point, everybody and their dog was going to be on the market. And I think this is now. Here it is in August. This is normally the busy season. This is the level of activity we'd normally see in March and April, but we're seeing it now in July, August, maybe into September. But I'm also really worried about a lot of the landlords that are putting their houses on the market. A lot of people that are struggling with their businesses, or they got furloughed and they're not being brought back. So that's going to be life situation. Those are life decisions that people have to sit down and make now that we're in, what are we, month 5 or 6, depending on when your employment or your company or your business got started to suffer during all this. So, and the only reason I bring it up is because I'm involved in a lot of these conversations. Real estate is life event driven, and I know real estate agents don't, if you look at the little charts about where different kinds of industries rank in people's minds, I know real estate agents are kind of in the middle. Some lists were lower than that. The joke used to be we're right up there with you car salesmen, but some really amazing people with integrity and are my friends are used car salespeople. So I don't want to use that idea. But the idea is that real estate people are actually an enormous service. And I'm not saying that just because I'm a real estate salesperson, but it's just from being a licensed broker for 11 years. We're there when somebody finds out they're having triplets. We're there when stage 4 cancer comes back. We're there when you lose your job. We're there when you get a better job. So there's all these life transitions. And right now we're in the thick of people having to sit down and decide, am I going to try to keep the business going and give up the house? Or am I going to keep the house and let the business go? It's like, what am I going to do? So, I'm bringing this up because it affects how many houses we have on the market, and it affects our commercial real estate, and it affects our near future and long-term future just as an economic force in Oregon. So I think it's going to be fine, but it's going to be messy. I keep saying this. I think we're going to have 6 months or maybe 9 months of just, everybody having to figure it out and then start over, or they can adapt to the new market conditions and they'll be okay. And I say that whether you're a business or an employee, because if you're an employee and you're furloughed, then you still have to figure it out. You still have to adapt. My best advice right now, what I tell people is, if you are not on the essential service list, and that essential service list is online, state of Oregon, I believe it might even be through the governor's office, but don't quote me on that because I get my websites mixed up. But state of Oregon has an essential services list. Every state does. And so you want to see if your industry or your job is on there. And if it's not, then I'm telling people to find a side gig or start transitioning into something that is. And people say, well, if this is all going to be over in 6 months or a year, why bother? And it's like, well, yeah, it might be kind of settled in 6 months or a year, but I don't know that economically your family is going to be recovered, or your company is going to be recovered, or your business is going to be recovered. So it doesn't hurt to have a side gig. This, idea of entrepreneurship's been real big in our country anyway, since forever. So I just think there's a lot of safety in having a second occupation or a second business or something like that that is truly essential services, because that is an enormous safety net. And I tell a lot of the young people that too, people that are just getting out of school. Well, there's no school. So, but young people that are just starting out in life, how about we say that? So that's kind of what we're seeing this week. So Jackson County has 100 new listings, but 43 came back on market. We're also tracking Josephine and Klamath counties, because as people are moving around and taking their job with them, we're seeing a subset locally. Local people are moving out of their high county, high tax, expensive neighborhoods, and taking their jobs somewhere else if they can. So we talked about this last week. People are leaving Ashland, Central Point, East Medford, and Jacksonville, and they're going to Grants Pass, and even further north, into Sunny Valley, Canyonville. As long as there's good internet, they're going up to Klamath, Lakeview again, but it's all about internet, or if they can take their remote job with them. And I don't know that our municipalities are budgeting for that, because I think it's all kind of coming as a surprise. But since I'm like boots on the ground, I'm helping all these people move. I'm just seeing a big trend, and it's not just people coming from out of the area. A lot of our locals are moving around. So the big fear right now, if you have a house to sell before you move, is I'm not going to have any place to go. So I want to tell you, we're closing on several properties in the next couple of weeks, where 30 days ago, we had to do this grand experiment where we put people's house on the market, and it had to have this really kind of raw, strong contingency that I'll sell my house, but you, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, have to wait until I find another one. And in some cases, it took 30 or 45 days. But you know what? The experiment worked, and people are moving and they're closing. But it was such a leap of faith on everybody's part. And there were moments when there were meltdowns. I'm not going to lie to you. And it wasn't just the people involved. It was the other agents. It's like, oh, it was the lenders. Oh, it was the interest rates. It's like, oh, I want to lock at 0%. I'm exaggerating, but you get my drift. So anyway, so all of that is going on. So if you have ever wanted to sell your house, or you're thinking, I did not want to sell my house, but now I do, because I can get A, B, and C for the same payment. Or maybe you want to buy a rental. And we'll talk more about that, because that is a little bit of a dicey thing in Oregon, but it's actually a great occupation. It's a great side gig. And you just have to be super, super knowledgeable about all the new laws. And the world needs more good landlords is the other thing. We really do. Because, well, for a lot of reasons, but that's a different podcast. Okay. So back to the idea of selling your house with this basically open-ended contingency. It's, I'm going to list my house, but the buyers have to wait. So how you get away with that right now, first of all, for at least a couple more weeks, maybe 3 weeks, I think the competition is still going to be tight. There's still not going to be enough houses on the market, but I really think that's going to change in late September, October, November, as people just give up. They just can't, or they absolutely panic. So, and I'm wrong sometimes. I'm just basing these predictions on watching the market, just being a kind of an old lady, having watched a lot of cycles. Oh, and I can see we've got some questions and comments coming up, so we'll get to that in a minute. But if you can stand the vagueness of putting your house on the market and not having one to go to, you will find one. I have 100% success rate so far. Let's knock wood. And but it was nerve-wracking, but we did it. And I think that I can now say with some certainty that if you just be stoic and calm and trust, then you're going to be fine. And you have to find the right buyer. You have to find a buyer that does not have to close on a certain date, and that's not always easy. And their lender, the buyer's lender, has to be very stoic and calm through this whole thing too, or it won't work. So if you're in a situation like that, you can call me, you can text me, we can talk about it. But we've got some history now of success, and you're going to have to price it just right, because you have to induce, you almost have to force multiple offers so you can get a buyer that really can weather this vague situation and won't just bail out of the escrow because they get bored or scared or find something else. So, but anyway, just want to touch on that. We also want to mention that in Josephine County, they had 28 new properties list, but hold on to your hats. They had 21 come back on market. So 20 in Josephine County, we had 28 new listings and 21 go back on market. Klamath County, we had 48 new listings. Now, isn't that interesting? Klamath County had 48 new listings. Josephine had 28. Jackson had 100. Klamath County had 48 new listings. Klamath County had 17 back on market. So this is just a real interesting phenomena, and I think the sellers need to be aware of it. I don't know that many of the buyers agents have noticed yet, but when you look at the overall stats, when you do get an offer and you do go into escrow as a seller, you need to brace yourself, because you could have as much as a 25 to 50% chance of those buyers not sticking around. And it happens quick. It happens usually in the first 10 days. But there are things you can do to help pick the right buyer. And it's not always about picking a good price. There's also some techniques you can utilize up front to prepare the market for your particular property and getting strong offers. So as always, you can text me, you can email me, 541-301-7980, and we can chat about that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of the questions. Why are so many listings going back on the market? That is a great question, because here we're going on and on about why such a boomerang. Why are so many people going into escrow and then changing their mind? And I'll tell you, what I'm experiencing and also what I'm hearing from other agents is that, oh, excuse me. Sorry, a little frog in my throat. Okay. Sorry about that. Well, now you know it's live. Okay. So some of the buyers are coming from out of the area, actually probably more than 30% right now. It might even be as high as 50 something. We won't know the actual numbers until the next month or two, but I predict we've got a good third to half of all these buyers are coming from out of the area. They don't know our geology. They don't know our city laws, and they get scared. They may have an agent that is brand new and is not able to help them with their due diligence. They may have an agent that just doesn't know. They may have a great agent. They may have a great agent and they're just jittery, because everybody's jittery. Everybody's jittery. The lenders are jittery. The title companies are jittery. Everybody's just going forward, but everybody's a little bit nervous right now. So I think that is part of it, is that people are overthinking it and they're scared. And they also think, well, so some of the buyers think there is going to be a crash. I don't think there's going to be a crash. I think it's just more like if you have an earthquake or a tsunami or a large fire, not that any of those are like excusable, but like when you have an event that's different than the big crash we had in 2007. When you have an event, it hits hard, it's unexpected, it's terrible, and then you rebuild. So I think it's going to be more like that. So we'll see if I'm right. But there are a lot of people out there that think, oh, I'm not going to do this right now. I'm going to wait and see what happens. If you're a buyer, I think that is a huge mistake, because I don't know what the world is going to be like next year. I have my predictions and I have my thoughts, but if you're in a position to get something right now and it makes you happy and it's good for your family, Bingo, just do it, because otherwise, this idea of waiting to see if the market changes in your favor, that is called timing the market. There's a name for that. It's an investor strategy. Right now, I don't even think investors should be trying to time the market. I think you should jump if you can, get everything you can right now, and then settle in, and then let everything else unfold. But I don't know, what if this only ends up being a downturn for 90 days, 90 more days, or 6 months, and then everything goes through the roof? And I don't know that that's going to happen, but that is a possible scenario. It could also be longer. It could be more like 18 months of recession and downturn. I don't know. I'm not Nostradamus, but I am watching the market. I'm watching the trends. I'm talking to a lot of other agents, and I just do a lot of work. I work all 3 counties. So I can tell you kind of what's going on just with my own escrows. So that's why I think we all need to kind of pay attention to this. The other trend that nobody's really talking about: people in neighborhoods, people in groups are not going to send their kids back to school. They're not going to go back to their buildings to work. They're not going to do the normal things we used to do. They're grouping together. Neighbors are grouping together and forming these almost like just kind of pods. I don't know what to call them, but they're these small organic, not, or I don't want to say organic because I don't mean like non-chemical, but they're spontaneously joining forces, families and neighbors. And I've got some people that are actually selling their house right now to move into a neighborhood to be with these neighbors, because the one lady is going to do the childcare. Another lady quit her job as a teacher, and she's going to be the full-time tutor. Another guy quit his job as a policeman, and he's going to be security and all the alarm stuff that everybody has. Like, he's going to do that. Another guy is going to use his spare bedroom for a neighborhood office if you have to go somewhere and it's quiet to work. So this is so interesting. This is so interesting that humans are gathering and solving these problems themselves. And so, you know me, I always like ask a lot of questions. And so this one lady is telling me that this is what they're doing. And I'm thinking, wow, that is so interesting. And I said, so the school thing is kind of big. And she goes, it's fine, because in Medford, they're still letting homeschoolers, I guess that's what they're calling themselves. They're still letting homeschoolers, well, that's what they are now, play sports and stuff like that. And we're all practicing safe distancing. And they've got somebody who has one of the neighbors has an art history major or something. And it's like, so they've got like the PE and they've got everything all accounted for as far as the education. And they're thinking the kids are going to be way better off because they really can go at their own pace. They've got the online learning from the schools, although this particular neighborhood pod has their own teacher now. And the teacher was excited because she's worried about going to school because she doesn't want to go back to a building. And the policeman, doesn't want to be a policeman anymore because he doesn't feel appreciated. But the whole side effect of this is, like, if lots of people start doing this, where does that put us? So when you go back to the question of why are escrows failing, it's because there's all these life changes happening, and it's not necessarily a straight line because it's never been done before. We've never been in a pandemic before. But one of the interesting things that one of these parents said to me is, even if they resolve the corona thing, the COVID thing tomorrow, we're never sending our kids back to school because we just realized we never have to worry about school shootings anymore. And it's like, what? I almost fell out of my chair, because they're right. If you basically have a protected home environment, then the school shooting thing is pretty much off the table. So anyway, it has just been a phenomenally interesting couple of weeks, but I'm telling you, the market is really, really changing. And part of why people are bailing out of their escrows is because they just realized, oh, well, I can't do this activity in that house. Or I just am too scared. I can't make my life change right now. Or I'm from somewhere else and this all sounds fishy because where I come from, we have a lot of termites and I can't understand why you guys had orchards here and now there's, I mean, people, I hear that. I hear that like from Californians. It's like, well, what do you mean you don't have termites? Well, it's like we have termites, but it's not like when I lived in Santa Clara Valley. It's like a completely different thing. Anyway, so that is part of it. The other reason people are bailing out of their escrows, they just made the decision too fast. This is all happening so fast, multiple offers everywhere, even in the higher price ranges. So if you're buying and you feel pushed, and then you win the bid, and then 3 days later, you look at yourself and go, what did I just do? And the state of Oregon is so lax about enforcing the buyer's side of the agreement, in my opinion. Then, I think you see a lot of fallout because the buyers just made a decision too fast. And then there's the inspection. See, this is what I say. Get your listing inspected ahead of time, because it's only like on a bad day, maybe $500 on it's the average is $375. So you're going to spend a few $100s. You don't even have to fix anything unless it's like really causing harm to you today. You can just say to the buyer's agents, here's what we know about the house, and it makes them feel better. I think it's great for disclosure. And you don't have this fallout thing where buyers are paying for their own inspection and then they find something out about the house that makes them nervous. Like I had one where the exhaust fan from the bathroom was vented into the attic and not to the roof, and they wigged out. That is like nothing. We'll fix it. It's like 48 hours. It's not a big deal. So then you're wondering, like, was that really what happened? Maybe they got nervous. Maybe they found something else. We don't really know. But this is where I just cannot emphasize enough. In the middle of a crisis, the best thing you can do as a seller, have your house ready to go and have it inspected ahead of time, because it really takes a lot of the pressure. Otherwise, people say, well, I don't want it. My house is perfect, whatever. It's like, well, so the buyer, it costs them $400 to write an offer. Think about that. You're selling your house. You're asking each buyer to spend $400 to write an offer with you, to have an accepted offer. I just disagree with that. And actually, I don't really know why we have so many buyer protections in real estate. And this is not one of them. I don't know why sellers are not more strongly encouraged in a real estate transaction to have their listing inspected ahead of time. Okay, so that's kind of all the way around why listings are going back on the market. It has to do with how nervous people are. It has to do with some people thinking they're going to get a better deal later, which I disagree with, but we'll see if I'm right. It has to do with people getting a bad inspection or inspection they weren't ready for. It has to do with people coming from out of town. They just don't know what we consider normal and what we don't. And for example, if you're buying real property in Southern Oregon, 4 to 5 gallons a minute is fine. We're fine. We get a holding tank. I raised 2 filthy, dirty kids in the country, plenty of water, no problem, more water than we could ever use. But some people I know say they're coming from Napa and places like that. If you don't have 19 gallons a minute, that's a bad well. And it's like, no, you don't understand. This is what's normal for us. Okay, so let's see. We've got another question. The market seems to be super active right now all over the country. Does it seem like a good time to buy? It does. It does. It really does. But here's why. It's only because, and that was from Trisha. Hi, Trisha. Trisha's looking at another part of the country, but this is a really good question, because if you're worried about having to care for more humans, like you're going to bundle up with your millennials, your elders, or you're worried about being quarantined again and you want more space, then the interest rates make it financially advantageous. The other opportunity that's right now is for second homes, commercial properties, but I would wait on commercial till the middle of winter, because I think you're going to have a lot of good deals. And then also rentals. This is a great time to start buying investment property. But if you're going to buy investment property, non-owner occupied is what they call it. In Oregon, if there's a tenant in there, you have to take the tenant. unless you're going to live in it. So that's like a whole thing, but it's also going to be 20% down. So if you're going to live in it, then the down payments are less. But I think it's an incredible time to buy. So yeah, in fact, anybody that gets within 10 feet of me, even if they're a stranger in the grocery store, and we do have our mask on when we're talking 6 feet apart, I do encourage people to save as much money as possible. In fact, for the group that helps me, my little real estate business group, people that work for me, I tell them almost every week, 30%, try to save 30% of your paycheck, 30% of every dollar you get. And also reach out to your friends and family that have business sense that you trust, and see if there's properties you can buy together. If you're of the mind to be in that kind of a partnership. So yeah, it's an excellent time to buy. And also just be aware that there's other undercurrents happening. It's not just that we have these riots and protests in these other cities and those markets are tanking. It's not just that these prices are going way down in these urban areas. Those people are still trying to get out and they're trying to go somewhere safer. And we're one of those places, which is going to affect our market. But it's also going to be our locals that may or may not be struggling, and they're worried. And people in the assisted living centers, a lot of, yeah, I'm a Gen X, borderline baby boomer kind of person. So my mother is 80 something years old. She's not in assisted living, but a lot of my friends' parents are that age, and they're taking them out because they're worried, and they're buying another house. They're getting something with 2 master suites, or they're buying something and then having a construction loan to fix it. And that's the other thing. Construction loans are now back. So yay for that. We're not really sure why the lenders thought to shut those construction loans down, but they did. They did it kind of without any expectation, without any notice. But again, that's why I say I think people are just nervous. And so while we're looking at Southern Oregon, our prices are up for the big houses that we couldn't hardly give away 18 months ago, 2 years ago. So the prices are up on the bigger houses. The prices are up on the houses that have big backyards, swimming pools. So if we get quarantined, this is what people tell me. If we get quarantined again, I want to have a nice backyard and I want a pool, or I want this, or I want that. And because the interest rates are so low, they can pretty much get it. So here we are, August 21st, and we've had many, many months of this corona. And today, Governor Brown said, they might put some restrictions back, like they might stop the interstate travel. So I was like, I'm reaching out. I've got family in California pretty close to the fires. And it's like, I'm texting them saying, do you guys want to come up here now? Okay, in case they close the border. And I don't know if she's going to close the border, but, and I didn't see the whole press conference, because I work, but I did get alerts on my phone saying this might be coming. So I just think we have to keep that in mind, because if that happens, that will change the real estate a little bit. But again, I think that makes it even more important, if you want to move and you have a house to sell, that you should call me right now, like 5 minutes from now, and let's get it on the market. My team and I can have a house on the market. If we have to, we can have a house on the market in 4 days. And that includes drone aerial, that includes 3D virtual reality videos, that includes the home inspection. It's like, if we have to get something done that fast, we can. We really like to have a week. That would be like from Monday to Monday. So that would be 7 days, but we can do it. If you have a life circumstance that requires that, we will do it. So, okay. So it looks like we're done with the questions for now. We'll be back again next week. 2 quick things I want to mention is we're going to start a couple of new series. One is going to be with our drone. We have a brand new drone pilot and you'll get to meet him, I think, next week. His name is Rick, Mr. Rick, and he passed his FAA drone pilot certificate. And we got him on our insurance, and we have our own equipment. So he's got a drone. He's going to be practicing early next week, and hopefully you'll get to meet him later next week. So we're super excited to have Rick. Super lucky to have him helping us, and it's going to be great. So and then we also have a new doggy series where we have well, I don't want to spoil the surprise. We have a dog series coming for real estate, and we have a family friendly series coming for real estate. So lots of cool things coming, but we're always going to talk about the market on Friday because it gives us a whole week to see what happened. So check back with us again on Friday and see what's changed. In the meantime, if you've got any questions, you need some help, or you just want some quick advice, you can give me a call, 541-301-7980. You can text me. I'm usually around. If I'm out of cell range, I get back to you usually same day, early next day. Try to get back to you as soon as possible. Okay. Otherwise, have a fabulous Southern Oregon weekend. It's going to be beautiful weather. We've got some great lakes, some great rivers. We've got each other. So go and enjoy our beautiful weather. And we'll talk to you next week. This is Alice Lema with John L. Scott saying bye. Make it a good one.